Well, actually, during the time of Marcos, I've been very active, what they call Parliament of the Streets at that time, no? I mean, going to strikes of the workers and things like that.
Before EDSA took place, I was, let me see, I was a member of the Batasan. And we were, of course, vocal against the Marcos regime. And I was supporting Mrs. Aquino in the search for freedom of this country.
I became a lawyer in '77, and so I was in a law office. That was before EDSA. And I went to the States for my profession and came back. And we came back as a family in 1983, July. And Ninoy was murdered in August 1983. And because when I was a student, I was very much involved in the student activism, it didn't take a second for me to say that this is it.
I happened to be the only one that had to go through a national convention. These people now, they have just been picked by their parties and you're the one, you're the best. And then they accept it. I had to fight my way through the Laban, or the ruling party at that time in 1991. My opponent for the presidential nomination was a very popular and competent public official by the name of Speaker Ramon Mitra. And I lost in the convention in the Laban. But I did not give up. I resigned from that party and formed my own party.
Shani's Espiritu, I'm not sure if the youth today would have envisioned the EDSA 30 revolution as it was 30 years ago. Eh kami nga noon, we did not envision it and it was the day before. So I don't think the youth would have envisioned it because really EDSA was what I call in religious language an act of the Holy Spirit because it was never envisioned by ordinary people. So if we could not envision it, how could the youth today envision it?
From Adrian, the 1986 EDSA revolution is the example of a non-violent protest of restoring the democracy and toppling the authoritarian rule. You know, this is true and it is something that people, the Filipino people and the world did not expect can be done. And these are the shining moments of the Filipino people. It was really a non-violent revolution.
The 1986 EDSA revolution is an example of a non-violent protest that restored democracy and toppled the authoritarian rule.
I agree with him about the toppling of the authoritarian rule, no? Restoring the democracy, I would say yes, in the sense of restoring the freedoms that we had before, like freedom of speech and all that.
No EDSA revolution, no freedom. No freedom to use social media. Most youth today take for granted freedom of the country.
It's also true that some people, or the young people of today, they take for granted that they can say a lot of things, no? Without being arrested or something like that.
Now the youth have access to Twitters, Facebook, all kinds of fast communications, which were not available in our age. And so what I can say is that take advantage of that. But please, also when you criticize responsibly. Do not just criticize for the sake of criticizing. If you think that something is wrong, you say why it is wrong, and then propose positive measures to correct that wrong without bloodshed, because that is what democracy is all about.
We toppled the dictator Marcos, installed an incompetent President Cory Aquino, and made Chris Aquino, daughter of Cory, popular. Haha. Well, we toppled the dictator, yes. President Cory Aquino could have done some things that I would have wished she could do, but she wasn't incompetent. And Chris Aquino, I think, well, she became popular not because of Cory. I think she became popular by herself.
Oh, no, we must look at the entire history of the People Power Revolution in terms of one or two or three generations. Mahabang kasaysayan, di ba? Hindi pa nga tayo tapos eh. And it is not just the work of one president that is involved here. It must be the Philippine presidents working with the principles and values of EDSA as their guidepost. And they must work on the gains of their predecessor. In other words, hindi mabuo kagad ni Cory Aquino yan, just like that.
From Chichaychi. Unfortunately, democracy was and is still being abused today. Too much of a democracy also is not good. There are no excesses when we talk of democracy. There are only excesses when we use that in violation of the rights of other people. So implementation has its limitations when it comes to implementing some of the laws and when it comes to our behavior.
Ang daming nakalimot, masyadong magpapatawad, siguro mabuting dumanak na lang ang dugo para maganda ang Pilipino. Now, alam mo, Ronex, ang masabi ko lang dito ay ang dami ng mga example ng mga tyrannical rule after bloody revolutions that did not produce freedom for their people. As a matter of fact, more oppression would probably follow as a result of a bloody revolution than, a bloodless one. And again, let me just say that the power is now in the hands of our people. And therefore, it is up to us to use that power so that we can ensure good governance.
Ito ang tingin kong hinding-hindi gagawin ng Pilipino na gawan ng solusyon ang kahit na anong suliranin sa pamamagitan ng pagdanak ng dugo. Hindi makapilipino yan at hindi ugaling Pilipino. Mapagpatawad, yes, mapagpatawad. Ang tingnan lang natin ay yung bawat pamilya. Doon sa pamilyang mapagpatawad, mas malaki ang pagkakataon na maging mabuti yung pamilya at maging buo ang pamilya. And that's the same thing if we enlarge it as a nation. Talagang mapagpatawad. But of course, we must also stress that mapagpatawad should not be in place if that would mean no punishment for those violators of the law.
Tunay na value ng People's Revolution at EDSA in 1986 ay yung hindi madugo, walang karahasan, at kung hindi natapos, pwede pang pagandahin, o bigyan ng international value. Yan ang pagkakataon ng mga kabataan natin dito. They must grab the opportunity to be workers for peace and sustainable development.
In other words, just because EDSA revolution happened did not mean that we will have good governance throughout the years that follow. Because every 6 years in this country, we have a presidential election, and in fact, every 3 years, we have local elections. And this process of electing our officials give the people, these processes give the people the chance to elect those they believe would be the leaders who they can trust to bring about progress and development to their respective communities.
It's reality and expectations. The Filipinos are dreamers, and we can show our best. But why do we say that EDSA 1 is a big disappointment? Because within us, after that euphoric 4 days, we only expected mainly the leaders to change.
Then here is a statement coming from Andre Mazaheri. The biggest lie they keep saying about EDSA 1 for 30 years is that it brought back democracy. We do not have real democracy. It's just about being able to vote or protest out on the streets. It's about a system of government that always prioritizes the best interest of the people. That is not what we have, because the only ones who are truly benefiting from this system are the oligarchs and political families.
I believe that there is no basis for a real democracy in the Philippines, because what I consider a real necessary condition for democracy is that the great majority of the people must have their basic necessities fulfilled.
The answer is very simple. It is that we started it, but we did not finish it. It is a continuing process. In fact, we call it a continuing revolution. And it is the younger people now that must complete it. You must understand that in this world, especially now when the world is changing very fast because of science and technology, you don't get anything on a silver platter that is already completed, beautiful, and it will last forever. No, democracy is the most fragile thing you can imagine.
The EDSA revolution gave us the opportunity to use our democratic rights so that we can end oligarchic rule and abusive rule by those in power. But it does not mean that it guaranteed that henceforward everything will be all right. Because to a very great extent, my dear friends, the workings of government depend not only on the people in government, but on the people who put the people in government in the first place. In other words, the voters of this country.
Of course, there are times when whoever has the louder voice is heard by the smaller people, but we still have democracy. Another evidence is you could be writing something like this if there's no democracy.
Really, what is the meaning of democracy? Well, it didn't bring it about because it never was. It never restored something that was not there. What it restored was what we had before that, which is just some freedoms and rights. But he is right, it's not really genuine democracy. Well, some of them are quite astute in their thinking, some are very trivial. Well, at least they are expressing themselves.
Democracy can be found in our daily lives. And for our youth, it's really love for history that we should reinforce. It's not just it's not just a list of information, data, statistics, but more.
Some of the doubts of the people regarding the positive outcomes of EDSA revolution is good in the sense that we should not only tend to remember EDSA by its successes, but also by the defects that accompanied, you might say, the outcome of the revolution.
But you never get anything in a nice package and it will last forever. No. We have to contribute to the longevity and the enhancement of the benefits that we inherited from our fathers, grandfathers, and other forebears. Ganyan ang kasaysayan ng tao.